You don't question reality, at least not in the way reality questions you. You wake up, you walk, you move through your day, and everything behaves like it's already decided what it is. The ground feels solid, the body feels fixed, time feels linear, and you follow it, one step in front of the other. And because of that, you trust it. You trust that what you're seeing is actually there. But if I slow this down for a second, and you really look, something feels off. Not obvious, not dramatic, just subtle enough that it slips past perception. At least, it used to. Because beneath everything you're noticing now, we've learned something unsettling. Nothing in this universe ever truly sits still. Stillness itself is just a condition of movement. Your body isn't still. The particles around you aren't still. Not even in this moment you're in is fixed. Everything is in motion. At a level your senses will never reach, things are shifting, oscillating, even what you call empty space. And yet you don't experience it that way. You experience continuity, something stable, something that feels real. So something must be happening in between. Something is holding this together, just enough for you to believe in it. Because if everything underneath is moving, never actually settled, then stability is not a given. It's being maintained, moment by moment. So instead of asking, what is reality? Ask yourself this. What is stopping the universe from tearing itself apart? And why does anything hold instead of falling back into nothing? What if reality isn't made of things, but of patterns being held in place? Because the deeper physics goes, the less stuff it finds. No solid particles, no fixed building blocks, just fields, oscillating, interacting, resolving into something that only appears solid. Even the idea of a particle starts to fall apart. What you find instead is probability, a spread of possible states existing all at once, until something forces it into form. A spread of possible states existing all at once, until something forces it into form. And beneath that, something even stranger. What you call matter is not a thing, it's vibration. Different frequencies expressing as different forms. Change the frequency, and you don't just move the object, you change what it is. So now the ground shifts, because if everything at the foundation is vibrating, then what you're experiencing right now is not a world of things. It's a world of frequencies, held together just long enough to feel real. A pattern, stabilized by resonance. And resonance isn't passive. It decides what holds, what collapses, what becomes something, and what never does. Which means what you're looking at right now is not everything that exists. It's what was able to stabilize. And that leaves something quietly unsettling. If reality depends on resonance to hold its shape, then the system observing it is not separate from that process. It's part of the condition. There's a way to see this, not in theory, not in equations, directly. You take a surface, you place particles across it, and you introduce a single tone. At first, nothing. Then slowly, something begins to move. The particles shift. Not randomly, not chaotically. They organize. Lines appear, curves begin to form. Points of stillness emerge, as if something invisible is guiding them. Until suddenly, structure appears. Perfect symmetry, precise geometry, order, drawn out of vibration. As if the frequency itself is shaping matter, holding it, stabilizing it. And then you change the frequency, just slightly, and everything breaks. The symmetry collapses, the structure dissolves, the pattern disappears, only to reform as something completely different. Not because the particles changed, but because the condition did. So the form was never in the material, it was in the frequency. The pattern didn't exist on its own. It existed because something was sustaining it. a stable resonance, acting like an invisible architecture. So what you're seeing here is not just sound creating shape, it's frequency deciding what matter is allowed to become, which means structure is not fixed, it's conditional, held together only as long as the condition holds. Every form you trust as solid, every object you believe is real, is only here because something is keeping it that way. So now the question sharpens. If frequency can organize matter into form, what frequency is organizing you? And then it turns, because this isn't something happening somewhere else. It's happening through you. You are not separate from the system. You are made of the same thing. Fluid, signal, oscillation. A living structure built on rhythm. Your brain doesn't sit still, it pulses. Waves moving through neural space, shifting with every thought, every emotion, every moment of attention. Your heart is not just mechanical, it emits a field, a measurable signal extending beyond your body, carrying information. And under certain conditions, those systems begin to align. Brain and heart locking into the same rhythm, a coherent state. Not calmer, clearer. Less noise, more signal, more structure within the system itself. And the opposite is just as real. When the system fragments, when rhythm breaks, when coherence drops, noise rises, signal distorts. The system becomes harder to hold together. So bring it back. If frequency organizes matter, and you are a system of frequency, then your internal state is not passive, it's structural. Because you are always being tuned by what you hear, by what you feel, by what you hold in your mind. And that tuning changes your level of coherence, which means it changes the stability of the system doing the observing. So now something deeper becomes unavoidable. You are not just inside reality, you are part of the condition that allows it to stabilize it all. Because if the observer is unstable, then what's being resolved through it won't perfectly be stable either. And that means something most people never stop to consider. The world you experience may not just depend on what's out there, but on the state you're in while it's forming. There was a time when sound filled space, not as background, as structure. Bells rang across entire cities, not just marking time, but shaping it. Stone carried it, air held it, people lived inside it. A shared rhythm, a world tuned. And then slowly, that changed. Sound became fixed, standardized, calibrated to a single reference. Not for harmony, for consistency, for scale. Music became repeatable, predictable, detached from place. And at the same time, the world grew quieter. Not silent, but flatter. The deep resonance that once moved through space began to disappear. Bells removed, melted, gone. Cities that once vibrated no longer did, and no one questioned it, because the new sound felt normal. It was everywhere, constant, unnoticed, and over time, it became the baseline. The frequency you live inside without ever choosing it. Because if the human system responds to sound, if it aligns or fragments, depending on what it receives, then changing the sound of a world changes the state of the people inside it, until it feels like nothing changed at all. And yet, something did. Because some frequencies, quietly, move the system toward coherence, toward alignment, toward less noise. Changes in the brain activity, in heart rhythm, in the way the system organizes itself. Not dramatically, but enough. Enough to suggest something deeper. That the world is not just something you live in, it's something that is constantly tuning you. And over time that becomes your state, your baseline, your way of experiencing everything. So now the question changes again. If your state affects how reality stabilizes, and your state is shaped by what surrounds you, then what happens when the world itself is tuned, just slightly out of alignment. At the smallest scale, nothing is decided, not fully. Everything exists as possibility, layered, overlapping, quantum potential. Not one reality, but many, waiting until something happens. Observation. The moment everything resolves. The moment possibility becomes form. But here's what doesn't sit cleanly. Why this? Why this outcome? Why this level of clarity instead of something else? Something less stable, less defined. Because collapse isn't perfect. It varies. It carries noise, which means something is shaping the conditions. Not controlling it, but influencing how it resolves. And that brings you back to the observer, but not as an idea, as a system. A biological, electromagnetic, frequency-based system with measurable states. Because coherence is real. When the brain synchronizes, noise drops. Signal sharpens. When the heart and brain align, the system stabilizes. Information flows more cleanly. And living systems rely on this. They use coherence to select pathways, to organize outcomes, to interact with deeper layers of reality. So now the idea tightens. If your system can be coherent or incoherent, then the signal you're collapsing reality through is not neutral. If you are fragmented, noisy, out of sync, the interface distorts. But if you're aligned, coherent, stable, the signal clarifies. And the collapse reflects that. Not perfectly, but enough. Enough to shift outcomes. Enough to change what stabilizes. So now the question is no longer, do you observe reality? It becomes, what condition are you observing it from? Reality isn't still. It's breathing. Not gently, restless. A constant becoming and undoing, happening beneath everything you think is stable. Nothing here has finished forming. Not you, not this moment. Everything is mid-transition. At scales too small to see, things hesitate. They blur between states, as if existence itself hasn't fully decided yet. And then something shifts. Not force, not control, a condition. And possibility folds inward, into form. Not perfectly, not randomly, but through something that feels almost like a decision. A line drawn through everything that could be, into something that is. And suddenly, there is structure. There is matter. There is a world that feels real enough to believe in. But underneath it, nothing stopped moving. The fire is still there. Endless variation, endless potential. And the cold is there too. Stillness, structure, the shape that holds everything together. Fire and ice, light and dark, chaos and order. Not opposites, not enemies, but partners. Two sides of the same coin. Two variables in the same equation. And right in the tension between them is where reality happens. And right there is you. Not separate, not watching from a distance, inside the process. A system made of vibration, capable of coherence, participating in collapse. So what you are, in the moment reality resolves, matters. Because you are not outside it. You are part of a condition that allows it to become real. And most of the time, it's noise, scattered. So the world reflects that. Not broken, just unresolved. But sometimes, everything aligns, and something changes. Not enough to explain, but enough to feel. Enough to know that reality didn't just happen, it responded. And once you feel that, you don't see things the same way again. Because what feels fixed isn't fixed. What feels real is still becoming. And what you are, in the moment it happens, is not irrelevant. So the question was never, what is reality? That's too distant, too safe. The real question is, what are you when it decides to become?